In this video, I'll give you 10 tips for improving your piano playing without extra practice. Hi everyone, welcome to the Piano Keys. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marina and I help people all over the world achieve their piano goals without years of lessons. In this video, I'll give you 10 tips for improving your piano playing without necessarily spending a whole lot of extra time practicing, and I will do it in 10 minutes. Before we get to the tips, just want to cover some bases here. I'm not saying that you don't need to practice. You absolutely need to practice, and I have tons of videos on practice tips, practicing particular pieces and telling you how I do it, what I do behind the scenes to prepare a piece. I have a video that tells you how to split up your practice time. So just to get that out of the way, so you don't have to write to me, yes, you do have to practice. There are no shortcuts. However, there are things that you can do that will right away improve your playing. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. These are things that I do myself and that I use with my students, and almost every time, probably every time, when I bring up one of these things to do for my students, the reaction is pretty much the same, which is, I would have never thought of that. So I'm hoping that this video will give you some different ways to think about your approach to your piano practice. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, slow down. If you're having trouble playing the correct notes or playing the correct rhythms or playing the runs that you have to play, anything technical, even anything musical like doing dynamics, if any of these things are not happening for you, you're probably playing too fast. 99% of the time that is the issue. So if you slow down, that gives you a chance to figure out what to do. Like your eye has to see whatever it is that you're doing. Your brain has to process it. Your brain has to send those impulses down to your hands. Your hands have to react. Your ears have to listen and make sure. There's a lot happening, okay? So when you play too fast, you're basically not allowing yourself time to go through all these processes. And what happens is you end up learning bad habits, or have you ever had a piece where you just can never play it right? I'm sure you have. It's probably because you're playing it too fast. So slow down. Number 2, use dynamics. Okay, what are dynamics? Dynamics are the sound levels of the music that you're playing, loud or soft or getting louder or getting softer, that sort of thing. So dynamics are super important, because if you don't play with dynamics, you might play like all the right notes and all the right rhythms, but there's no feeling behind your music and your listener isn't terribly moved emotionally. They might be amazed by your ability to move your fingers at the piano, but the music isn't speaking. So how do you know what dynamics to use? Sometimes the sheet music will tell you. Most often it will not tell you. So this is where you need to do some experimenting. Generally, when we have a melodic line that goes up, like goes higher on the piano, we tend to want to get louder. We call that crescendo. And then, the opposite is also true. This is very general, okay? So you don't want to do it like a robot, like, oh, it's going up, must get louder. No. And then, so if a melodic line is coming down, generally we want to get softer. And then there are also different levels of loud and soft, right? Just like when you're speaking, depending on how you feel, your voice, the dynamics of your voice can change. And they do change according to, what's going on up here or inside your heart. Number 3, give the music room to breathe. What does that mean? Okay, it means don't play like a metronome. Don't play like a metronome is playing along with you. So we call this rubato as well. Basically what this means is letting some notes have spaces in between them that aren't necessarily written in. And I'm talking about like time spaces, pushing other notes closer together in time, letting a thought process kind of develop as the music is being heard, is being played. In the same way that when we speak, we don't always speak in the same kind of tempo all the time. Now I'm not even varying my voice, but sometimes you go faster. Sometimes you take a breath to like think about what's coming up, right? The same thing has to happen in music. So how do you know where to let the music breathe or where to push it forward? Again, it's experimentation. And then another thing that I'm going to talk about later, but experimenting and really being open, listening to the sound that's coming out, as well as this is a phrase that's really used a lot these days, is like being in the moment, being present. It's so important when you're playing music, right? You can't check out emotionally and mentally and just let your fingers play or think about how nervous you are. So by really being present while you're creating the music and while you're listening to what you're creating, you'll have available to you modes of expression that aren't available if you're not listening, if you're checked out, okay? Number 4, add articulations. What are articulations? So articulations are things like staccato, legato, tenuto, marcato, sforzando. These are all Italian words. So to break it down into the simplest terms, articulation is how you play a note. If you jump from one note to another, we call that staccato. If you connect one note to the other, like you're walking, we call that legato. A sforzando is like an accent, where something just kind of stands out. So what this is doing is it's varying the way that you're expressing the music. Again, most of the time, these things are not written in the sheet music. So once again, you must spend time experimenting, trying different ways of playing. Even if sheet music tells you to play something staccato, if you don't like the way it sounds staccato, you can play it legato. You can always adjust to how you want to play it. Make it personal. Number 5, experiment with pedaling. So pedaling is not just a simple down or up. There are so many different things you can do with pedaling. In general, more beginner pianists tend to just kind of put down the pedal and hope that they change it in the right place and don't get too blurry or too choppy. That's fine. You start there, okay? But then you should move on. You might sometimes take the pedal off and listen to what the piece sounds like without pedal, or a section of the piece sounds like without the pedal. You might want to use half pedal. You might want to use touches of pedal. There are different ways of using the pedal that colors the music and gives it different expression. I have a pedaling tutorial. I'll link to it here. I also have an entire course that takes you through exercises that teach you how to use the pedal in combination with your hands. And then we actually go through like popular pieces, and I tell you how I came up with pedaling on those. Number 6, make up a scene or a setting for your piece. So what you might do is come up with a picture. I do this a lot. Before I play a piece, I kind of imagine maybe a movie scene, or even just like a painting, or just an atmosphere, and I put myself in that place, and I play my piece from how that feeling translates through my hands. So what this does is it takes you away from playing notes, and again, it gives your music life and expression. So if you've watched this far, let me know in the comments what movie has most influenced your outlook on life. It doesn't have to be your favorite movie, just one that has really influenced your outlook on life. I'm not going to tell you mine, but next week I'm going to post a piece that I wrote that was inspired by my movie that most influenced my outlook on life. Number 7, try different fingering. If you're playing a piece and you have part of it that just never really feels right, or that you don't play the right notes, or you can't play it fast enough, or whatever it is, if it hurts, anything like that, even if your sheet music has fingering written in, doesn't mean that's the right fingering for you. The only right fingering is the fingering that works for you. Sometimes there's not any fingering that feels really good, but there's going to be a fingering that feels best compared to other fingerings. So if you're having trouble, technically on a piece, try different fingerings. Number 8, I kind of referenced this earlier, but I didn't talk about it yet, and that is watch other pianists or listen to other pianists. I would prefer that you watch them, playing live in a concert setting or on YouTube or something like that, because you get to see their movements and how every movement that they make produces a different result in the sound. You can get ideas on pedaling, on fingering, on dynamics, on interpretation. Every good pianist is going to have their own personal interpretation of a piece. And the more good pianists that you listen to and that you watch, the bigger will be like your internal library of ideas to use. Number 9, record yourself. No. Yes. Yes. Record yourself, video and audio, so that you can watch your movements and you can hear what you're playing. I promise that if you watch these recordings, you're going to notice things that you don't notice while you're playing, sound-wise and in the way that your body's moving. So once you record, you have to watch it. You have to watch your recording, and then you have to go back and address whatever it is that you saw. Record again, watch again. And the last tip, and this might seem counterintuitive or counterproductive, but super important. Number 10 is take a break. So if you've been practicing a particular thing for like half an hour and you just don't seem to be getting better at it, stop, go do something else, maybe even go away for the day from the piano, don't play, come back fresh later. When you're away from the piano, it's like your subconscious mind kind of works on whatever the problem was, and then you come back and the problem might not even be there anymore. First of all, it might have been because you're just tired, you've done the same thing too many times, or you have a different perspective on what you were doing. So sleep on it, as they say. All right, well, there you go. Those are my 10 tips to get better. Join my Facebook group, Piano Practice Tips with the Piano Keys. You must answer all the questions and agree to the group rules before I let you in. Find me on Facebook, The Piano Keys. On Instagram, I'm at The Piano Keys TPK. And my website, thepianokeys.com, has lots of really fun stuff for you to look at, courses, tutorials, all that stuff. Go check it out. Click the thumbs up, donate if you'd like to contribute to the cost of running this channel, and let me know that question that I asked earlier, okay? Keep practicing, have fun, and I will see you soon. Bye.